Hello and welcome to this digital camera video tutorial. My name's Ben Birchall and I'm going to be showing you how you can transform your water sculpture and water droplet shots into amazing pieces of art that you'll be proud to put on any wall in your home. As you can see here, we've given this image a title, I've got my name on there, a small piece of text saying copyright 2009 and a lovely white border. If I zoom in by pressing Ctrl Alt and 0 to 100%, you'll see the fine 5 pixel classy little black border that's on there. This is a great way to present your images and obviously something that's going to work in a frame on your wall extremely well. So let me start from the original raw digital negative file, which is this one, and as you can see it's not too bad a shot, except it's lacking a little bit of impact. There's probably too much space around this area just up here. So the first thing I'm going to do is just adjust the levels just to make sure that the contrast is there and the white balance is pretty much spot on. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go to the new adjustment layer. I'm going to click this icon and bring up the levels on another layer. Okay, I find the easiest way is just click auto and see how it looks. It generally does a very good job, Photoshop, in auto levels, and as you can see the blacks just darken down a little bit more. We've got a little bit more contrast in there. So I'm going to click OK and we'll move on to the next stage, which is crop for that all important impact. So I'll press C on my keyboard to bring up the crop tool, and my favourite way of doing this is to actually drag the crop across the whole of the image and take one of the corners. Now if I hold shift down, that will constrain this crop so that anywhere I move my cursor it doesn't do this. I don't get an awkward crop. I don't get a square or something that's not quite square. But by holding shift it will always constrain it to the actual size of the negative. Down to about there. I'm going to use a space bar to get the hand tool, which you can still do while you're cropping. You can obviously move the crop around, and I'm going to bring it in even further, holding the shift key once again. Take it to around about there, and I'm just going to rotate that ever so slightly, just to make that really central and make the droplet seem as though it's actually standing up vertical. Okay, hit return and there we have our shot. Now the next stage is to clone out the dust spots, and we do this by creating a new background layer. So the easiest way to do that, drag the layer down into the new layer icon, and I'm just going to rename that by double clicking it. I'm going to call that spot layer. So we're not actually adjusting the background layer. Now I find the best way to do this once again is zoom in to 100%, so Control Alt and 0 on the keyboard will zoom me right into 100%, and just moving around using the spacebar I can see these small infernal dust spots that have got on a sensor. This is anything from shutter grease to dust created by static and heaven knows what. That obviously looks like a little bit of grease just smeared on there. So we need to remove these, and I'm going to use the clone tool. So I click the S on the keyboard and the clone tool will come up. Now I need it on the normal mode, keep the opacity at 100%, the flow on full 100%, and we want to make sure it's aligned. And the simplest way is to just click Alt next to a dust spot, move it along and click on the actual image where the dust spot is. And I can work quite quickly using the space bar to take me around this image, which brings up the hand tool, and just clicking on all the dust spots one by one. The great tip for resizing is to use the square brackets key. If you press the right square bracket key, the brush will get bigger and the left square bracket key will get smaller, so you can have real control over which dust spots you want to get rid of and how you want to get rid of them. For example, this one could come down a lot smaller. You can be very, very precise with this technique, or you can just do it fairly quickly, which I'm just going to run around and do the main areas of concern. This one here, for example, I'm going to need to press Alt once again, and coming from that side, obviously, I don't want to come in from the side of the actual water droplet. Okay, so when you're quite happy that it's been spotted and there's no real horrible areas of dust on there, zoom back out again using Control and 0 to get my full frame. And we're going to give the image now the black border that lends itself so well to a shot like this. The way to do it is, first of all, need to select the whole of the canvas so the actual border goes around the edges rather than anywhere else. So Control and A will select the whole of the actual frame, and we're going to use the Edit command and Stroke to bring up the dialog box. And as you can see, there's 5 pixels already entered into this, which I think is a very good amount of pixels for the size of the image. And the colour, obviously a nice classy black because it's going to go against some white. Leave the location on centre, which will put the stroking width in the centre of this selection rather than on any of the inside or outside edges. Blending mode on normal and leave the preserve transparency. Click OK and then deselect the selection by Control and D, and you can zoom. You can already see the actual border as it is there, but we'll just zoom in and use a space bar once again to run around the image, and you can see that it's put a nice, fine, no mess, no fuss border around the image. Spot a little bit of dust there, so I'm just going to go back to the clone tool, Alt key, and just get rid of that one just there. Okay, so Control 0 brings me back to full screen, and we can now work on the white border. The way to do this is go to Image and click on Canvas Size. Now this will bring up a dialog box, and you've got a choice. You can either use the relative dimensions, or you can just mess around with the actual numbers. Now relative means that you can enter 30 millimeters, for example, and it will put a border on the width by 30 millimeters across here. I'll just show you that. There we go. Or you can bring it up once again, and you can put the 30 millimeters in here by putting 210 millimeters. Does the exact same thing. Control Z gets rid of that, but we don't want to do that. We're going to go Image, Canvas Size, and I want 7 centimeters, so 70 millimeters and 70 millimeters on the height as well. You have got a choice of a colour, and I can pick whatever colour I want, but I'm going to go for white, which will be the background colour. Click OK, and there we have a very nice white border. Now a great way to finish an image like this is to put some text on it, give it a title, put your name on there. It's something that you're going to hang in a frame and put on your wall. You want people to know that you've taken it. So before you can think about putting text on, you need to make sure the text is central. Now the easiest way to do this is to bring the rulers up and place a ruler guide right in the centre of the image. So Control and R on the keyboard will actually bring up these rulers that you can see just here. And the way to get a guide in the centre is just to move the cursor into this part of the ruler and drag a guide. Now it will snap into place as soon as it hits the centre, and I know that that's clicking there, and I can move the cursor just around a little and it's not moving, so I know it's snapped into place. That will put the guide up. Now the next part of the process is to type in the text, and the way to do that is press T on the keyboard, or you could go to the tool palette, get your horizontal type tool, And I'm using a Bicam Script Pro, which is quite flowery and very, very fonty. I'm going to want bigger than 72, maybe change that to 85 pixels, and I can start typing in. I'm going to call it Fluid, and I can now use this to move it anywhere on this image, and it will actually snap into place when it becomes dead center with this guide we've got here. Click on the tick, there we go, and I can do the same thing for my name, Ben Birchall. I'm actually gonna make that smaller than 85. I don't want it to be the biggest thing on there, so I take that down to, let's say, 65. Try that. Okay, and underneath that I'm going to do an even smaller font size, 30, copyright 2009. Now you'll notice that as I type this text, it's all aligning itself underneath in symmetry. That is because if I select it all, Control A, I've selected the actual central type. So clicking on that will actually move it and keep it in center. And then once again, that will actually snap into place, and using the arrow keys you should be able to move it up and down after clicking on the tick. There we go.